Toyota is the world's largest automaker for many different reasons, but one of them is for well-built cars that are dependable and reliable. But since May 30th, we've had a massive recall on the Toyota Tundras, the full-size pickup truck. We've had recalls on its twin-turbo V6. It's been combusting, throwing rods. It's just in total engine failures. They said it was debris in the engine. Some people might agree with that. Some people say, no, it's a bigger issue than that. Time will tell if this recall spreads to more models, more years, and more configurations, including the hybrid. So stay tuned, because I don't think this is done. This is just the next evolution here, because we have an update on July 25th. As of 11:30, I don't know why they had to specify the time here, but we do have an update for these twin-turbo V6 Tundras as well as Lexus LX models. Again, over 100,000 vehicles from Toyota and Lexus combined, and apparently the problem is machining debris that may have not been cleared from the engine when it was produced involving the vehicles. This can lead to potential engine knocking, engine rough running, engine no start, or a loss of motive power, or loss of motive power while driving at higher speeds can increase the risk of a crash. So what are they doing? Well, they're not fixing it per se. For all involved vehicles, Toyota and Lexus dealers will replace the entire engine with a new one at no cost to customers. This is going to cost Toyota billions of dollars. I'm hearing around $30,000 or something for an engine replacement. And if we take 30,000, let's just get the old calculator at 30,000 times 102,000. That's $3 billion that they're going to have to spend to replace the engines. Well, here's the thing. Is it going to be all 102,000 of these models? And the answer is probably not. All right. This is the maximum cost that it will cost them. Well, in theory, that's just in repairs. There's no way all 102,000 engines, in theory, will need to be replaced. The customers of those 102,000 should absolutely bring their LX or Tundra to the dealership to see if their engine is affected by the debris. And if it is, that's an engine replacement. It would be way too time consuming, way too costly to try to fix the engine by rebuilding the engine. Does Toyota have the number of techs to be able to do that with that sort of knowledge and expertise to just rebuild engine? It's just way too much. These engines are too complex. Like I said, stay tuned, because I'll be happy to update you guys on more of this engine recall if it expands. There's a good chance, because I've heard stories from customers with the hybrid engines of having engine failures like the models that have already been recalled. Now, apparently the Lexus GX, and I don't have anything to prove this, but I've heard that the new Lexus GX twin turbo V6 has made improvements to the engine design to make sure this sort of engine failure doesn't happen. I think debris could be a part of it. Is it the only reason for these engine failures? I find that hard to believe, especially at such a high volume. It could be a design flaw. It could be a parts flaw from a supplier. It's hard to say. But again, we might see this recall expand. And since we're on the topic of recalls, the other massive recall for 145,000 vehicles that has resulted in a complete stop in production of the Indiana West plant and a stop sale of the Grand Highlander and Lexus TX. I have some updates for you guys. Now, these are not official mentionings by the company. It's just from my sources, all right? So we have this issue where the side airbag is not protecting the driver's head, and it's kind of channeling them into the A-pillar. I'm just going to read from a statement that I have here. The production and delivery of these two vehicles will continue to be paused until October 21st at the earliest, while a remedy is made available and implemented. I believe training is going on right now for the workers there to fix this issue, but the full-on fix is not developed yet. And so Grand Highlanders, Lexus TX is still on stop sale until October 21st at the earliest, but it could be pushed later. I believe there's around 8,000 vehicles that still need to be retrofitted with this update that are just sitting at the plant or nearby, or maybe at dealerships that need to be fixed first. But I've also heard that they are going to try to tackle this from two different fronts. They could have teams fixing the 8,000 TXs and Grand Highlanders that need the fix that are already produced while they start ramping up production in the West plant with new models that have this built in from the factory, the fix from the factory. So yikes, they're not out of the woods there, not by any means. The fixes won't even start to be implemented by October 21st at the earliest, all right? So what other recalls have happened for voluntary? Again, these are all recalls that Toyota has done themselves. They haven't been forced, in theory, they haven't been forced to make these recalls and say, hey, we see issues, or maybe our customers are complaining of these issues, or whatever it might be. So they make a voluntary recall themselves. All right. So we have RX, we have Crown. Well, that also includes NX, that previous one, LS, and Prius since April 17th. RX and NX models, this only affects 11,000 vehicles, and it has to do with head restraints being removable without pressing the button release. To me, an absolute nothing. This doesn't, I guess worst case scenario in a freak accident, it could cause an injury, but that's not a big deal in terms of Toyota and Lexus reliability. For the Crown, Toyota is conducting a safety recall on 13,000 Crown vehicles involved in the U.S. How many Crowns did they even sell last year? Pretty much most of them. So I believe they sold about 14,000 Crowns. So approximately, so essentially all of them. The front view and or rear view camera case may allow water to enter and short circuit the camera, causing certain images to not display. All right. So the cameras here are not water sealed, apparently. All right. And lastly, with the Prius, we still don't have a fix that I'm aware for the Prius. I don't know if the Prius is still on stop sale, I would imagine, but let's keep reading into this. I didn't cover this too much in the past, but Toyota on 23 and 24 Prius and plug-in hybrid Priuses in Japan, North America, Europe, and Asia. So all of them. So 211,000 Priuses are involved in this recall, but 55,000 in the U.S., so pretty much all of them that were sold in the U.S. So water can enter and short circuit the electric rear door hatches in the involved vehicle. So the doors are not locked, they could open while the vehicle is moving or in a crash, increasing the risk of injury to the occupants. So yeah, that sounds like a mess. Why couldn't they just design the rear doors to not be electronic with the hatches or the latches? Why can't they just make it with a normal door handle? All right. So this is what happens when you start making things overly complex, and then you have unforeseen issues with the complexity. So it is what it is. As cars get more complex, reliability in theory will go down as there are more problems that could potentially creep up. All right, I have some other Toyota news here before I end this video, which is more exciting because it affects, new car development, which I get more excited over than recalls. All right, Toyota to build EV battery plant for Lexus cars. All right, well, where are Lexus cars made? Well, a ton of them are made in Japan, but you also have them built, well, for now in Kentucky. That's going to stop as the ES goes back to Japan next summer. They're also built in Canada, well, and India, but that doesn't count, right? That's for the Indian market. But a ton of them are built in Canada, the NX and the RX, for example. The TX is not being built anywhere right now because it's on stop sale and recall, but that is built in Indiana, right? But these battery plans are going to be in Japan at the southwestern prefecture of Fukuoka and supply its batteries to the factory that makes Lexus brand cars. So this battery factory is supposed to, in theory, make batteries for the next generation Toyota EVs, the ones on the new platform. Toyota City is here in Aichi Prefecture, and so this battery plant is on the other side of Japan. This is in southwestern Japan at Fukuoka, all right? They have, this is where they're going to be building this potential new battery plant. Why would they be building it here? Well, they have plants on this island as well. So Toyota has a Kyushu plant where they build the RX and other, I think the UX as well. Let me look it up. All right, here we go. As of 23, the company produces the Lexus vehicles at its Miata plant in Kyushu. So the NX and UX, as well as the ES and RX. But these EVs are supposed to be built at those lines. I would imagine that they have a lot of capacity left in some way. So ES production is going to go up there, but RX production has gone down over the years because of RX production in Cambridge, Ontario. And the NX lost a ton of production here because of the newest generation, or was it 2021? 2022, somewhere in there for the current generation NX, the second gen. That went to Ontario as well. All right. So they have a ton of production capacity here in this plant. And this is a good place for them to start building EVs. Now, more than likely, we're going to get an official press release from Toyota in the coming months about this battery plant. Again, this is just from a source that Reuters has. But we know that the next-gen vehicles with next-gen batteries are coming in 2026. And lastly, Toyota West Virginia revs up production for electrified future. So they are building in West Virginia the 5th generation transaxles for hybrids, which includes, of course, the new Camry. It's going to include the upcoming RAV4, of course. I mean, of course, they use it for the Corolla Cross, the only other domestically made 5th gen hybrid, to my knowledge, because the Corolla does have 5th gen with a 1.8, but that's built in Japan, of course. They got a lot of hybrids to make, especially as the Camry's full-time hybrid and the RAV4 shall be full-time hybrid. No non-electrified Camrys or RAV4s by the end of next year is what I'm expecting. So they're going to be working hard to produce a lot of those hybrid transaxles there. I wouldn't be surprised if they're also supplying some of them from Japan with the huge amount that they're going to need, like I'm closer to 700,000 hybrid 5th gen transaxles just for those two vehicles. When the Lexus models get those upgrades, they're going to need these 5th gen hybrid transaxles as well. I'm going to shut down there. A very long video. Toyota not out of the woods with its recalls quite yet, and they're not fixing the engines. They're just replacing them with better built engines is my guess. So anyways, I'll see you guys in the comments. As always, if you made this far, appreciate you. Hit the like button, subscribe for more if you're not, for more Toyota updates, industry auto updates, as well as car reviews. Thank you guys. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.